chance to hear it, so let her tell it. People on the streets say Sabrina speaks. Tune into the show, she will let you know. Tell all your friends and family. Real talk is no joke. You get the news straight up from grassroots and concerns. You hear some people gone. So tell all your friends to tune in to
Good evening, Cayman. I'm Sabrina Turner, and welcome to Sabrina Speaks, your daily dose of clarity, truth, and community insights. Every weekday from 5 to 6:30 p.m., we're tackling the issues that affect you, from national headlines to grassroots concerns. Whether you're in traffic or winding down your day, this is your chance to hear it straight and speak your truth. So buckle up, Cayman. We're not holding back.
This is the show. We gotta let you know. Now we got to go.
And now here's Sabrina.
Hello. Hello.
Somehow you've muted yourself, but I don't know where.
Hi, testing. Are you hearing me
I
now?
can hear you now.
Okay, don't know
Okay,
what
can
happened
everybody
there.
else hear her as well?
Give me a thumbs up, please, if you can hear me, please. Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
you're back. Okay. These
All right.
things, I swear they have a mind of their own.
I don't know what you did, but
Well,
I can
welcome.
certainly hear you now.
Okay, good. Loud and clear, I
That
hope.
was caller number one trying to call you to say, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm hoping, Ms. Marjorie, are you hearing me now? Just give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. Okay, excellent. I don't know what happens. These things have a mind of
And
their
your
own.
thumbnail is back to my thumbnail as well. Do you notice that over on the side?
Let me see what's going on here with these.
Under,
assets.
It has your name, and then it has my thumbnail
Your
picture
image.
under
So
people. Try changing it again. Try changing the avatar
go to
again.
people and
Yes. See where it says Sabrina, but that has my image. That is so weird.
I don't know. Edit avatar. And let's go with this lady. You think you recognize her?
All right, try that and see, because I know you changed it before, so I'm not sure
Yeah,
why
I
it
did.
changed
I
back.
don't know.
All right, well, all yours, honey chill.
There we go. Leave it to me.
I
All
took off the
excited.
training wheels, but still watching. You know, when you do that with your
Yeah,
kids,
exactly.
you're like, okay, you're ready to go, but you're still a little bit nail biting, apprehensive. Like, I know you got it, honey.
Well, the
And then
key
when they,
is I found the sound.
yes, when they're about to fall, you can still grab them real quick.
Yes, there
There
we
you
go.
go.
Thank you so much for being in the background, Sandra. It
Absolutely.
does make a world of a difference, and you know, it really helps, to be honest, to have you there in the background until I just definitely get this all going. And I hope that the avatar has changed. But this evening, I'm sorry for those who joined us from the beginning and just saw my lips going. I want to welcome you again to this evening's edition of Sabrina Speaks, right here, coming live to you via cmrtv.com, that we're streaming, and on our many social media platforms, CMR via Facebook, CMR via Instagram, also at Sabrina Speaks, the number 12 on YouTube, and definitely on Facebook. I want to take this opportunity to acknowledge and all of the persons who were interviewed this week thus far. The registration for Miss Delva Hurlston Bake Camp is still ongoing. And yesterday, what a phenomenal interview with Ted Green. I hope that you were able to find his link under the page yesterday and go ahead and follow him, because I think this is going to be an excellent gentleman to follow. The sky's the limit for him. I think great things are definitely on the horizon for Ted, and we're going to be with him every step of the way. Good evening. So to all of our listeners, yes, Miss Marjorie, thank you so much. Connie, good evening. Miss Barbara G, welcome. I hope you're excited. You may see in the background, my guest for this evening will be Mr. Roy Bodden. He's no stranger here, a man of the soil, and definitely from our first capital, Bodden town. Known teacher, poet, author, and former politician. I'm so excited to hear more about his latest book that was launched in July at UCCI campus, Deconstructing Development. And it goes into so much of things. It's almost like this gentleman is prophetic. But you know what? I will not delve in too much. I want him to tell us much more, and also have you on this journey with us as we learn more about his book, how we can actually get a copy, get our hands on this book. I know, but I want him to share it. And it is an excellent read. What was surprising most to me, to be honest with you, of him being a poet, that was something that I learned of. And he has some very touching poems in this book from what I was able to leaf through. Shaka Zulu, welcome. I don't think you were here yesterday. What's up? I hope you're catching on after the fact. And Marshall, hope the heat has subsided a little bit and maybe some rains are over there with you. We're definitely having a cooler day here in the Cayman Islands. Miss Andrea, welcome. But yeah, Miss Lily Archibald, welcome to Sabrina Speaks. Now, you know, we want you to subscribe, like, and share on any social media platform that you're streaming us live from, so that you don't miss an episode of everything that's happening on cmrtv.com, and definitely with Sabrina Speaks. So you got to definitely tell all of your friends, all your families who've been missing out, go back and watch it, how we are evolving, how we're coming together in this space, because we are definitely proven to you that this station, this platform, this show that is brought to you every Monday to Friday from 5 until 6:30 is actually Voices of the Islands and Conversations for the World. And we will be showcasing our very own. We'll be dabbling into topics that is very topical. I have had a number of people that are advocating, and based on time permitting this evening, which I know I'm going to give at least half hour, and I'm going to invite you to call in 936-8255. The topic that they wanted me to try and dabble in today is actually bullying in the workplace. Yes. Many of you are subjected to bullying in the workplace, and unless you're hearing it from some of you that are actually victims, I can bring it up, but this is a community where your voice matters, your opinion as well. We recapped how boards and all of that sort of stuff and councils are formed, and that was in yesterday's show, and we got excellent feedback, and of course Sandra covered that this morning on her show. And definitely we are not going to shun away from any suggestions and topics that you actually want us to discuss here on this platform, that you are also invited to participate. You can WhatsApp me here on 936-8255 and also give us a call where you will be live and sharing your thoughts as we bounce it off each other's, and even suggestions. What I want you to take away from this is that no one should feel that they're having to go through any challenges or difficulties alone. This space, I promise you, will bring you the facts. We will be here to support. If needs be, point you to resources, and definitely if research is needed on a particular subject matter, we will actually go research, come back, but it is not the space to just have myself talk at you. This is inclusive, and I have created that opening for you to engage and definitely to be a part of this community. So it's going to be a very interesting evening, very informative, enlightening, as we get more to know about Mr. Roy Bodden and his book, and definitely to partake in the discussion as it comes to bullying in the workplace. Your take matters. This is the outlet for it. I know a lot of you wanted to hear more about minimum wage. And at the end of the day, you know, we will actually be watching that closely. But what the resounding request was out is just bringing out the bullying in the workplace. But again, you're welcome to actually call in and partake in the discussions as well. Let's say hi to Lisa. It is thank you so much. This would not be a success without the participation of you all, to be honest. And I am so happy with the engagement here between the WhatsApp and you guys streaming on YouTube and definitely Facebook, making sure that no message at all is missed. And it has been, that in itself has been one of the most motivating things for me to continue. And your overwhelming support, we've just knocked it out of the park, to be honest. Sandra has shared all of the stats with you, and they don't lie for themselves, just on social media platform. Thanks to you, our views, our engagement is averaging no less than 10,000 views. That's at the lowest point, and we can go as much as 17 to 18,000 views, and that's all over the world. So if you think people are not watching, if you're thinking people are not listening, take another guess. This is the place to be. You couldn't choose anywhere better than spend your afternoons with me right here on Sabrina Speaks. Eventually, we will be also on radio. So you won't have to worry about missing us because you can't watch us as you commute your way home or to go and get a nice meal after. You will be able to stream us live as well via radio. And so, yes, again, the viewing, sharing, and letting people know about the topical issues that we're talking here would not be possible if you weren't subscribing. And I want to continue to build this space, but we're going to build it together. You all were there with me from day one, and I continue to actually see us build this community, the warmth. And I know sometimes as Caribbean, it takes a little while for you to warm up to someone. As long as we're doing it respectfully, we can engage, we can agree to disagree, we can hash it out here. I mean, hey, who's going to bite? Not me. And we're going to keep it real. We're going to keep it very factual. And we're going to just air it out here for everyone to be welcome to this space. But again, the number is on the screen, 936-8255, to join into conversation until my guest actually reaches us. But I want to make sure that you all are settling in. So after our discussions with Mr. Roy, that we definitely know we are going to be having and going into the conversations more about anyone who has been affected by any sort of bullying in the workplace. And we know that there's no place for that here, but a number of you have actually voiced that you're scared to even complain. Some of you don't even know where you can go to complain, and it's dealt with in a confidential manner. And that is what this is all about, just making sure that the resources are there, that you're directed in the right path, and how you shouldn't feel isolated and alone if you find yourself in that position. Let's go to some of our viewers and their comments here. Oh, thank you, Miss Lisa. You will only get the truth from me. Bold, respectful, and to the point. That's how I've been all of my life. Pat, welcome to the show. It is a pleasure to have you here. And K Street Journal. Let's read this. Sabrina, people are interested in building our national, not foolish gossip and teaching and tearing down each other. Well, again, that is true, but that is what this forum is for. If people are actually wanting to actually discuss about bullying and you're feeling that it's foolishness, then by all means, again, that's your opinion. I am willing to tackle any subject, and that is why this show is for the people. And moving right along, Miss Joyce, it's a pleasure to have you on our show. Miss Lucille, welcome, and I hope you're feeling better over there in the UK. Good evening, Miss Jerry Ann. And I will I just want to make sure I understand this comment here from K Street Journal. By all means, if there's more context needed or suggestions, feel free to send me a WhatsApp or an email. Sabrina Speaks at sabrinaspeaks12@gmail.com. Any topics you wish to share, we're here to engage and definitely get it out there. But again, I have to actually go with the will of the people. We will have our own topics and subject matters that we will be engaging in. National issues. I know that persons have come up to me in regards to even access to housing because of the rents being so high. It's hard for people to even get started. We have spoken about building and creating a more innovative culturing and cultivating more innovation with our people, our young people and our entrepreneurs. That we're not going to actually be able to do this type of stuff and engage in some meaningful conversations, but everything takes time. And I am willing to engage and open. And again, we held open mic for an entire week, and it was immigration reform, minimum wage. And now, as again, people are free to come up to me, and I'm going to bring it here, right here on Sabrina Speaks. If after our guests are finished and you want to involve and indulge in open mic, whatever topic comes up, I'm here for it. Game on. Hi, Richard. Welcome. It's good to have you joining us to the UK, and I know it's late, so I thank you. All of you people who are in a different time zone, I thank you for staying up with us and definitely sharing the love all the way over there, and I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. I'm actually tweaking this studio every time. I'm playing with the lights. The lighting has improved, and window treatments and all of that we are actually in the process of doing. For those of you who are new to this platform, this is just the third day of my second week. This studio pretty much came together in less than 72 hours. And here we are today, still blowing the stats when it comes to the engaging conversations, the guests that we have had. And I can assure you next week is going to be even better as I become more comfortable with this space. And definitely that is only possible with your continued support. Miss Marjorie, minimum wage. people will just send more money home. Also, landlords will just raise the rents. The minimum wage should only be for the unskilled Caymanians. To be honest with you, not to go in directly to the minimum wage, but until my guest joins us, let me take a stab at this. I have heard all factors in regards to minimum wage. And I think the conversation, in all honesty, that needs to be had is in sectorial minimum wage. When engaging with even domestic helpers, most domestic, if not all domestic helpers, were not working for $6 an hour. It is particular sectors that we're having the problem with. And if you have certain sectors, predominantly the tourism and hospitality industry, that there is approved gratuity that is approved by government, those are the ones that are really not paying the national minimum wage that is still $6 an hour, proposed to be $8.75 come January, because then they use the approved minimum wage, the approved gratuity to make up the differential. So I think, to be honest, as a broad brush national minimum wage discussion, more discussions need to look at certain sectors. When you look again at the domestic workers, a lot of them are not making $6 an hour. Even with $8.75 per hour, a lot of them are making more than that. Look at the construction industry. A lot of them are not making $8.75. They're $10 and $12 an hour. So to be honest with you, it is indeed a delicate balance. I agree. But if we want to get more of our own people employed in a particular sector, like the trades, hospitality, tourism, stats will prove, and we will be sharing those stats with you. Stats will prove that the highest number of work permits right now is in the tourism sector. That particular sector is the one who is actually, in many cases, paying below minimum wage. But they have an approved gratuity scheme that is approved by government. So that's really where the conversation should have. Maybe if at the end of the day, the minimum wage in that particular sector is even higher, we would be able to attract more of our own and lessen the amount of work permit in that particular sector. So to be honest with you, I really feel that that is where a lot of conversation needs to be had. So we can go into this much more in more detail. And my guest is here. I just want to get that guest in studio. 1 second, just bear with me. I'm just inviting my guest here.
Shall I just
Yeah.
walk you through it? Okay.
Yes. 'Cause
Go
he's not-
under people,
Yes.
and you see
I
him at the
got him.
bottom in the green room. Yep.
Yes.
Awesome.
I got him.
And then from there, you bring him in the studio.
There we go. Good evening, Mr. Bodden. Mr. Roy?
Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening.
Hi.
Good evening.
Are you hearing us okay?
Yes, I am.
Okay, welcome to Sabrina Speaks. We are being brought to you live, and definitely with over 132 people streaming live on Facebook right now. It is a pleasure to have you on the Sabrina Speaks show as we delve into your most recent launch of your book right here that I'm so honored that you gifted me a copy of, Deconstructing Development, Immigration, Society, and Economy in Early 21st Century Cayman. But no stranger to the Cayman, definitely a gentleman of the soil, hailing from our first district, Bodden town. You have found yourself post-political. As a poet, you were once a teacher, now an author. Oh my goodness. You are definitely a busy man.
I am humbled. Yep.
Well, tell us, here you are, have just recently launched your latest book. Tell us a little bit more of this, because I know this is not your first book, but this particular one actually dovetails with another one that I was reading, and I caught sight of actually, the Cayman Islands in Transition. And that delved into history, that delved into the changing of our society. And then here we are with this one. When you read that one and you look at this one, you're actually prophetic. Because some of the things that you're actually addressing, even from another book that I saw, from the guardhouse to the legislative
Glass
assembly.
house.
Correct me.
God
Yeah.
goes to the glass house.
Yeah, to the glass house. OMG. And here we are in 2025. And some of the very same issues that you actually highlighted in all of these material is making its way now. Please tell us more about this latest edition and go more into it for us, please.
Okay, thank you. Well, first of all, the Cayman Islands in Transition, which was the first book, was published in 2007 because I realized that many people did not understand what was happening to Cayman. So I set about trying to write in a way that people could understand how the changes we were going through were impacting our society, economically, impacting it socially, impacting it politically, because it's important for us to understand that if we are to have a sense of the direction in which we should go. So the thesis of that book was that we are a society on the move, and that is largely generated by the economy,
Okay.
which was at that time a 20th century economy, tourism and international finance. But the foundation of that was led by our seamen who went to sea, and by virtue of the fact of them going to sea, they opened up the Cayman Islands first to tourists from North America, and then from bankers and international financiers from the world over. Those brought changes to us, the populace of Cayman, because brought in new people, new ideas, new pressures, and new ways of living. And
Right.
so we had a choice and we had challenges. Also brought in improved standards in many cases, but it brought pressures on our society that we had not experienced up to
Right.
that point. And so here we are now in the 21st century, deconstructing development, immigration, society, and economy in early 21st century Cayman is a sequel to all that was discussed in the Cayman Islands in Transition. My thesis in this book is that globalization, a phenomenon with which we were not very familiar, has taken us over, and like a current or a tide is sweeping us along. Hence, we have unbridled immigration, we have people coming in, we have competition, we have changes in the society, not all of which are positive for us Caymanians. And so this book is an attempt to explain the challenges that we are facing and how we might best deal with those challenges.
Now, I notice in the back there is some recommendations that is actually quite sobering. And of course, scattered through your book, there are also poems that hit home to the youth. Even the definition of Caymanian is actually in your book. And that's one of the things that's a part of reform. Now, understanding that you have been actually very candid very bold back in the day when you were a member of our legislative assembly then, now parliament as it is now called. Based on the level of the way you actually went after challenging topics and subjects, do you feel that our country was ready for that level at that time coming from you? Let's say you were misunderstood. You're candor, you're bold, you're blunt. And here you are writing a novel that is saying some of the very same challenges and issues that we're facing today.
You're right. You're right. Saying that I was misunderstood, you put it kindly. I was actually a pariah. You know, I was castigated for being so bold. But it is my belief, after many years of study, research, and introspection, I believe what I said. I believe what I have written. I believe that in Cayman, the Caymanian people must be first among equals.
Of course.
And that stands to reason. It's a natural. And you are right. I have in the book my definition of citizenship and who should be a citizen. And that's reserved. I talk about things that people cringe at. I talk about ancestral privileges, Sabrina, because I believe that people like you and I, we have certain ancestral privileges which the newcomers don't have, nor can they acquire them. And as a result of that, there are certain things that should remain sacred and sacrosanct among us. And one of the things that got me into trouble and still gets me into trouble is the fact that I said that we as Caymanians should have never sold absolute titles to our land to outsiders. We should have sold leaseholds, 50 and 99-year leaseholds. But we should not have sold absolute titles to the land.
And from when did you have that conversation? Do you feel that you were grossly misunderstood, obviously, where we are today now with actually no changes made to that? And here you are now, you have it in print.
But it's interesting to note that I was not the first person. That idea did not originate with me. As a matter of fact, it originated from someone who I think is far more eminent than I am or probably could ever be. A man who was commissioner, now we would call him governor, here in these islands in 1953. A man whom I quote often in my writings, a man whom I admire dearly. His name is Andrew Morris Gerard. And he served as commissioner here from 1953 to 1957. He spoke to us in prophetic terms, in biblical aphorisms. He told us that we should not sell our birthright, meaning the land, for a mess of pottage, from the biblical story of Jacob and Esau. And he was the first person. And he set the template, Sabrina, he set the template, because all of the land we know now, where villas of the galleon are,
right,
where the Ritz-Carlton where the Ritz-Carlton is, and where the old Galleon Beach Hotel was. Gerard crafted a leasehold, and he leased that to an English industrialist, Benson Greenall, who built the first modern hotel here, the Galleon Beach Hotel. Gerard leased that crown land to Benson Greenall for 99 years. And we had the template. He set the template.
From then.
So we should have followed that. And then you and I would have been much better off today, because we could pass the 7 Mile Beach and say, that's ours, you know. That's ours. But it doesn't belong to us now.
Do you feel it's too late?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is, because the horse is already out of the gate. How do you reverse that now? How do you tell these people that you're expropriating what has been in their possession as private property for decades? You can't do that without turmoil. and upset. And it would
Which we
be
don't want to
one-
go, which we
No,
don't want. But then there
no.
are other avenues that we can actually try to actually look at mitigating exactly going there, because you people shouldn't feel that their voices can only be heard when there's possible civil unrest.
Right, right. I'll tell you how we can make up for it. And I've said this before. We can make up for it by, because sooner or later we're going to have some form, we're going to have some form of direct taxation. So we can implement a land tax in which we have commercial holdings being taxed at a different rate from residential holdings, and that will somewhat mitigate the disaster that we have created.
But
by-
there's been this almost, once you use the word tax, we have to educate and break it down, put it into context in which you're using it. Because if we've already identified in regards to absolute hole in land and we realize that it's pretty much gone, how are we going to prepare our people to have that type of conversation if the use of that word that is right now is a trigger to many?
Well, it's I mean, to many people it's a dirty word, but it doesn't have to be a dirty word, because I put it to you, Sabrina, that sooner or later we are going to have to face some form of direct revenue earning. The government cannot continue. We cannot continue to raise monies off customs duties. You know what is interesting? With Trump going the way he's going now with these tariffs, how is that going to affect us? How is that going to affect? I saw where we imported over 1 point something billion.
You're correct.
Do you know how much money we lose in the Cayman Islands through leakage? Because that's money that is going out. That's money that's going out of Cayman. If so, we are going to be forced to have a different kind of system, because we're not going to be able to pin import duties on goods all of the time.
And if we're saying we want to lower the amount of work permits and some of that revenue does actually go to the bottom line to keep government running,
That's right.
then we're going to have to look at other ways. But again, it's all about educating. And here you are. This is not your first book that is actually saying this and giving ideas. Having been a legislator yourself, how do we get them to listen?
Well, it's a process that won't happen overnight. And so that's why I hope my writing will be read by people and we start a national conversation.
Right.
And beginning with things like your show and other shows, we have a national conversation, because I don't expect that we're going to be able to implement these things tomorrow, because we
Right.
want people to have their input. So it begins with this. And so that's why I write, and that's why you have such a show as this, so people can hear. And there will be people who disagree, and we have to listen to their disagreement.
Correct. In
Out of
order to
these-
get to a happy medium.
That's right. Out of these various positions, we will come to a happy medium.
Now, looking at the landscape and politics, and it always looked like it's a pendulum. It's a pendulum, and persons pretty much vote for personalities. They vote for charisma. They're using terms on even political stages, like let's say geopolitics and all of that sort of stuff. Using language that the largest voter pool pretty much may not necessarily understand. What's your take on the way in which elections have gone from your time to even now, with making sure that people will really be able to be in an informed position when they're casting their vote, not on charismatic nature, but actually for what someone can genuinely bring to the table?
Good point. Good point. Here in Cayman, we vote personality rather than issues. And many good people have great proposals, but they never get elected because they don't have that kind of personality or that kind of drive, or they may not even have the gift of gab. People don't listen to the issues as as conscientiously as they should, but they're taken more to what I call gimmickry. You know,
Interesting.
it's political theater. Who,
Theatrics.
who can put down their opponent? Who can crack jokes? Who can come up with what I call ad hominem remarks? Dismissive, that kind of stuff, and not enough people listen to the issues that the candidates are expressing. So it's a time consuming process. And some people have the gift of gab. They speak a whole encyclopedia. And at the end of the evening, what did they say? Nothing. They said nothing. Nothing. But that dazzles a lot of people. Oh, you hear what he said? You hear all that he was saying? And then you ask them, yeah, what did he say? But they can't tell you anything because he didn't say anything. And so to get away from that, we have to have committed candidates who are going, and sometimes they're going to take losses. They're going to lose.
Of course.
They're going to lose, but they have to be persistent. They have to be, and eventually people will say, this person's been saying this for so, I have to believe in them because they never change their story.
Right. Mr. Roy, we have a caller. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Sabrina Speaks. What's your mind? And you're live. What's on your mind?
Good evening.
Good
evening, Sabrina, and good evening to your guest, Roy. He made a comment there that people here in Cayman vote based on popularity or charisma or whatever else. That is true, but partially incorrect in that it's not here in Cayman. It's the world over.
You're right.
It's a popularity contest. There's nowhere that I can think of, and no one's been able to successfully show me where people sit down, analyze the issues of the nation, and vote accordingly based on what people are putting forward.
Right.
That has probably even third or fourth tier to the rest of it. Where they fed me that night, or they did me a favor, so I owe them a favor.
Right.
And they talk good or they sound good, but no one ever scratches past the surface, because I think if you did, most people start stammering. You can say a lot of things that sound good and have a lot of opinions and views. And I've always found it interesting here in Cayman and many other places. And I used to be one where having helped initially with when the PPM was first formed, I got such a bad taste in my mouth I went back to independence. But the reality is everybody's saying, I. When I get in, I'll do this, and I'll do that, and I'll do the other. And I was like, no one's ever stopped to say, well, how do you plan doing by yourself? Because doesn't it take the rest of the people to support you?
Correct.
And so
Yes.
that does not happen.
Yes.
So I'm only sorry that I missed the other part of it because I had work with the other part, the initial part of your conversation, because the topic certainly is of interest to me, but I can't comment on anything because I haven't heard any more than this particular segment.
That's not a
But this is
problem. You
not-
can always scroll
Yeah.
back at the end of the show, which is about 6:30, and you can get topped up. And I recognize the voice. I would love to have you on as well, because this would be a very interesting roundtable discussion. But just to stick a pin there with exactly what you stated, caller. One of the things, do you feel that the reason why persons have actually gone to the me, I, and not necessarily us, even if it's a party structure, is because of what single member constituency has brought to the political landscape here in the Cayman Islands? I will welcome both of your feedbacks.
Well, since you have to, I'll make it brief and then hang up, just so that your guest can get good. But basically, the long and short of that is I didn't hear that this time around. I think the general consensus is everybody looked around and tried to, with the very few exceptions, everybody tried to tag their wagon or hitch their wagon to the party. And for that reason is because they figured they saw the infighting with the last coalition, and there was never really any unity there. It was if there was ever a true example and for the definition of marriage of convenience, certainly what the last coalition certainly defined that extraordinarily clearly.
Be kind.
Caller,
I only know how to. There's only one way I know how to say it, and and that's how I see it. And I do not have any malintent or any gripe with anybody.
We
but
speak
the
it
long
real
short
on
of it,
Sabrina Speaks. We're just real.
yeah. So to that end, I would say to you that I found it interesting that they say I will in my district, but together with my party, So to that end, I would say that. And it's really easy. What I find is, especially in the world, and Mr. Roy can certainly expound on this, but in the world of the keyboard warriors today,
Oh Lord, yes.
everybody's an expert.
Mhm.
And ironically, even if they only had a phone that has almost the capability of launching a rocket into space from the phone, yet nobody uses it to research anything that they're talking about, and something as recent as the cost of living adjustment. Mm-hmm. Everybody's like, oh, no, they're making all their comments, but no one's backing with anything despite having vast amounts of information available to them.
Correct. They just run with it. Mm-hmm. Whatever sticks.
Yeah. So my initial call simply is getting back to it, is that it's always been and always will be a popularity contest, which is a very sad state of affairs, simply put, because as to what Mr. Roy said previously, is that there has been a lot of very good ideas and candidates out there. And again, I think someone could, I find it very hard to find people successfully contradicting the fact that the former minister, Marco Archer, who did such an amazing job, was defeated. And this man did an absolutely outstanding job with our country's finances. And the thanks he got was a dismissal, right? Yes. So, which is a sad state of affairs. But there you go. You get the government you choose, right?
Yep.
So with that, keep up the good work, and I look forward to hearing more about your shows, and I look forward to listening to the rest of it. Have a great evening.
Caller, I am shameless in this, but I hope I would be humble if you could buy the book.
I will.
It's a very good read, caller. Trust me. I only got it yesterday, and I'm pretty much 3/4 through it.
And we can continue the conversation.
Definitely.
Oh, absolutely. I will. Okay. Have a good evening.
Thank you so much, caller. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Mr. Roy, very interesting to get your take on the whole single member constituency, the whole charismatic nature versus what you bring to the table on subjects that really matter. Because we got that caller's perspective. But what about yours in regards to single member constituency style voting here in the Cayman Islands versus what we had before?
Well, I have never been a proponent of single member constituencies for the Cayman Islands. And it didn't have my support during the referendum. And I tried to persuade as many persons as I could as to what I saw were the pitfalls in that system. Regrettably, I wasn't persuasive enough, or I didn't persuade enough people. Because in a society like the Cayman Islands, where we have small voting constituencies, and the nature of families being the way it is not inconceivable for someone with a large family in a small constituency to have 200 or 300 votes from family alone. Which gives that person an advantage against someone else who doesn't have that. And so our system, first past the post, that's the system that I like, because I thought it gave everybody an equal chance of winning. Now, people that whom I converse with are regretting the fact that they've gone to single member constituencies because they're expressing a desire to be rid of some people, but they realize they can't do so easily.
Right. I'm not sure if you can read the question that's on the screen. One of our viewers The question is, yes. What's your take on that?
I agree with the questioner, because I think that, and I said it in my book, Caymanian citizenship is special, and it should be reserved. And I talk about this. I get very emotional about this because I think that we Caymanians, the people who call themselves generational Caymanians, I call us established Caymanians. That's what I call it, because we have been established here from history, and we should hold certain rights that are sacred and sacrosanct to us, from ancestral privilege, I call those. You know, the land and tenure. By virtue of that fact, that should set us above other people who came more recently. Not that we're not recognizing them and acknowledging them, but citizenship should be held by the persons who have these, what I call, ancestral privileges. And then there are other categories we can give to the other persons, whether we call it a green card or whether we call it belonger status or permanent residence. It's beside the point, but they should not be citizens. And where a person from outside acquires citizenship through marriage to a Caymanian, that citizenship should not be transferable. In the event of the Caymanian spouse dying, the holder of that citizenship should not be able to transfer that. And if they're divorced or separated or whatever, it should not be transferable either. It should end with the children of the union.
So what in the event of an untimely death? Let's say
Oh, of
tragic
course.
circumstances.
It doesn't
There will
matter.
have to be room for discretion is what I'm trying to get
Well,
into.
no, it doesn't matter. It doesn't
Okay.
matter. Once you're married to a Caymanian and the spouse dies, whether it's untimely or whether they live out their natural life, the citizenship can't be transferred. It cannot be transferred if you marry a non-Caymanian. Because if it could, that defeats the purpose. So the only beneficiary of such a union would have to be the children of that union.
Okay. You know, one of the recommendations I heard from one of the chairman of the board, status of the Caymanian Status and Permanent Residency Board, is that one of the recommendations being made for this actual reform is that two actually, status on the grounds of descent and status on the grounds of marriage not be revoked. As the current legislation stands right now, if someone gets status on the grounds of descent or by way of marriage, and let's say they're outside the jurisdiction for a continuous period of 5 years, there is provisions in the law for that status to be lost. One of the recommendations that's going to be presented for consideration from that board is that, especially on the grounds of descent, that it's irrevocable. What's your take on that?
Status on the grounds of descent, irrevocable.
Parent or grandparent,
Yeah.
but those that are granted by the board for persons who have found their lineage. Let's say we have found family in Utila. I have people in Utila. My family is from Bluefields, Nicaragua. I got even ancestry connections in Cuba.
Right.
Let's say someone comes out and they're connected to the George Sims clan, and they want to apply for status, and we can connect the dots where they are connected to the Milton Sims estate, my background. They would be able to apply. Let's say they come and they find us at age 70 or 50, 40, over the age of 18. The provisions in the legislation right now allows one, once it can be established by way of birth certificates, marriage certificate, that lineage, that they can apply for Caymanian status to the board on the grounds of descent. The recommendation that is being suggested is that once that is established, that status can't be lost.
Well, there's an argument for that. But then some people may say we'd have to have a cutoff point. Maybe it should go to just great grandparents.
Right now, it's only parent or grandparent. If you open it up to great grandparents, that's a whole different Pandora box.
Right.
As it stands right now, it does not extend beyond grandparents born in the islands.
Yeah,
And
but
the key takeaway there is born in the islands, be
Yeah,
it
that's
maternal
reasonable.
or paternal.
That's-
If you
that's
go to
reasonable.
great grand, you have just opened up another
Yeah.
floodgate. So
That's
that's a delicate dance.
That's right. That's reasonable. But I'm an advocate for a distinction between established Caymanians and others in terms of citizenship. It should
Right.
never be that someone, I found this whole thing convoluted. It's nonsensical how I have to prove that I'm a Caymanian, but an expatriate comes here and gets status and doesn't have to do the same thing.
That's any person that is born in the islands on or after March 27th, 1977, by way of entitlement or by acknowledgement, which of many people are dubbing as ghost Caymanians. It doesn't matter whether or not you were born on the steps of the Legislative Assembly. Once you were born in this country on or after the 27th of March, 1977, and both parents are Caymanian or not, you need to be acknowledged, is what is in play right now. So I understand your frustration, and many Caymanians feel that they are at a disservice because of that right now.
Yep. That's one of the things I think we need to revisit. But there
Now,
we go.
Well, going back to your book, how can people get their hands on this book that is filled with so much information? And was in writing this book, was this something like healing for you? Understanding that you are this is just a little bit of nugget of what's in your soul, what's in your heart, what voters may have missed out on. Is this like healing for you when you put pen to paper?
It's
I don't mean to make you blush.
Well,
I'm not playing on your emotions. It's just an honest question.
it's a cathartic experience, but I write because it is touching to me. It is sensitive to me. It is something that stirs my soul because I believe that we as Caymanian people are special. We are. If you when you read the book, you will see that in certain areas, particularly with reference to the land, I make comparisons with the Old Testament Jewish people because I believe that the land is the only resource that we had as Caymanians outside of ourselves, the people. And so there has been a sacred and sacrosanct relationship between us as Caymanians and our land. That's why I take to heart this separation. And that's why I warned that any separation between us and the land would not bode well for us. And my case has been proven. Yeah, but the book, I spent 4 years researching this book, 4 years. And in the process of writing, I did interviews, I did solicitations from persons because I wanted to get their opinions. What I didn't want to write something that people say, oh, that's just his ideas and everybody knows him. I want to be substantiated what I put down. Is this right? Am I right in making this assumption? And is there another side? Is there something else that people need to know in order to come up with a balance?
Right. Mr. Roy, we have another caller on hold. Good evening, caller. Welcome to the Sabrina Speaks show. You're live.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Congratulations on your book, Mr. Bodden.
Thank you,
I'm
sir.
sure you're going to continue to write more. I'd like to deconstruct the idea that somehow having to get status acknowledged by Caymanians is a bad thing. I think people need to appreciate that if it was not for that provision in law, we would have disappeared a long time ago because there were no restrictions at all. When you come here and you had children, those children were, if you were not Caymanian and you came to the Cayman Islands prior to that provision being put into law, the children of those who were born here were automatically Caymanian. And so this provision is explicitly put there for our protection. No dispute about it. no fear of contradiction,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely in the favor of Caymanians.
Mm-hmm.
And those who think that that are somehow offended by it,
That they have to
well,
actually do an application or
well,
to be acknowledged in their own
yeah,
country.
yeah. Well, you see, when you say that you want to be a colony, that has some consequences. And unless you're willing to change that
Mm-hmm.
feature,
Mm-hmm.
then you're not dealing with your own citizenship, because you touched on British overseas territory citizenship,
Mm-hmm.
and that is a feature of the British of the UK legislation,
That's under the British
not
Nationality Act, which is a
right,
total separate independent piece of law.
which is not made by the Cayman Islands.
And it does not always align, not even with legal and ordinary resident time frame windows.
Right. And so when we decide that we want to mature
Mm-hmm.
and take matters into our own hands, then the acknowledgement feature can go away. But as long as we wish to remain a British overseas territory, then that is there for our protection.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone who doesn't understand that, I would like to strongly encourage them to try to figure out why it is that I'm saying what I'm saying, because it is definitely for our protection.
It goes back, Mr. Bodden, to what we were saying about understanding the level of conversation and making sure that people are fully getting and educated about the system. Many a times we're speaking, but people are not really understanding it. Would you
Right.
agree with that? You see, because
That is true.
we will have conversations, and one actual word, a terminology, can throw somebody off. It's not
That is
by
true.
any means saying people do not understand or that they're dumb. Please do not
Yeah.
misread that. But we are engaging, sometimes we're speaking to the masses, because look at the amount of Caymanian children that have been born to two Caymanian born parents since 1977. That is just, they're first of all upset that they even have to do this process, despite it being an addition,
Right.
a protection, but they probably just do not understand.
Well,
Yeah.
I would like to encourage people I'd like to encourage people to understand why it's for our protection
Mm-hmm.
and get the acknowledgement so that all of our paperwork is in order, because
Mm-hmm.
you never know what happens down the road.
Right.
Thank you,
True.
Mr. Bodden, for coming on.
True.
I'll
True.
continue to listen to
And
you.
thank you to
Thank
caller
you.
for your
Thank you. Thank
contribution.
you, caller. Thank
I'm
you,
trying to
caller.
work
Thank
out
you.
how I can find these two calls, but caller, please call back. Yeah, Mr. Roy, very interesting conversation, but I want people to be able to get their hand on your book. Is this available on Amazon? Is this available? Where can we get
Oh, it's available. It's available at the Book Nook. It's
it?
available at the Book Nook. And I
Mhm.
have copies, but it's available at the Book Nook.
And
I have
how can
copies.
people reach you? What number? What's the best way to reach you? I know you have a Facebook
Best way to
page.
reach me is my number is 926-2180, or
Mhm.
I have an email at royboddencayman@gmail.com. So you can get the book from me, or you can go down to the Book Nook and get it.
And get it there. We have
It'll be
another
the
caller.
it'll be the best $35 you've spent in a
Well,
long time.
I
In a
am telling
long,
you, it opens up a whole different sphere of reality when it comes to the Cayman Islands. And for all of those who are almost appearing as though they're living under a rock, a lot of what you have shared here, and I'm looking at even your other book, is reality. And we're having these conversations right here now in 2025. And you're already saying it in here. Caller, welcome to Sabrina Speaks. You're live. And what's on your mind?
Good evening, Auntie Sabrina. Good evening,
Hi.
Dr. Roy.
good evening. Good evening.
Dr. Roy, I have a few of your books. And when I call in, I like to play the devil's advocate, right?
Sure.
And as I was listening to you speak about the, how Caymanian citizenship shouldn't be transferred to the spouse, and I have to ask, um, how do I word this? If civic identity is partly forged through shared sacrifice and stewardship. How do you justify withholding citizenship from a non-Caymanian spouse who
No, 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 no,
demonstrably
no, no,
contributes?
no, caller. Excuse me, I have to interrupt you. I didn't say that it shouldn't be transferred to the spouse, you know. I said it should be transferred to the spouse, but it couldn't be transferred beyond the spouse. So I'm saying that if I, as a Caymanian man, were to marry someone who's not a Caymanian, that person would be entitled to Caymanian citizenship. But if we were divorced, or if I die and that person remarries, that citizenship could not be transferred to her new spouse.
Ah, okay. I think I misunderstood what you said there.
Devil's advocate again. But what then?
But
Go ahead,
but
caller.
but then I still have to ask. I mean, if the person has, if you, Dr. Roy, have been married to, you know, a person who's not from Cayman, and you've been together for them 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, and they have contributed financially, culturally, socially to the islands. I mean, how and they're now Caymanian. How can you? It almost sounds like it's like a second class system of you know, the true Caymanians, quote unquote true Caymanians, and or established Caymanians, as you say, and you know, this other class of that, if they get married again, somebody else. I mean, I don't. How do you justify
The
that?
only way I can explain it is I am protecting the small number of established Caymanians. That's the only way I can explain it. The only way I can explain it. I mean, because you know, I'm not saying that this is going to be the case, but it's possible you could have multiple marriages. One person could be married 3 and 4 times, and then that's 3 and 4 persons that should really technically speaking. No, it's an absolute way of looking after the interests of the Caymanian citizens. That's the only explanation I have for it in a small population. But this is the case, caller, this is the case in many countries. It's the case in many countries.
Yeah.
But wouldn't there be any room for caveats in your mind?
I suppose they could always be negotiated caveats, but I suppose they could always be. But I don't consider the person seriously deprived. I mean, their children, their progeny has a citizenship. They have the citizenship. So there we go.
Okay, thank you. I look forward to reading your new book.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Go
Thanks
down
for
to
your
the
call.
book nook.
Thanks for your call.
You know, we're live here on cmrtv.com just for, we have some breaking news that here on you can follow us on the Mar Road Facebook page. There's been an American Airlines flight AA920 from Colombia that's making an emergency landing here due to medical emergency, and emergency responders are already on standby here at Owen Roberts International Airport. So here we are, this little gem in the Caribbean International Airport. So if persons see any like the fire service, that sort of stuff, emergency vehicles at the Oriya at this moment, that is because there was an American Airlines flight from Colombia has made an emergency landing. So we're keeping it real, keeping you updated and informed. And of course, you're going to be updated on Facebook from CMR Cayman Mall Road streams. Mr. Bodden, it has been looked at from your perspective in regards to all of where we're going as a country as we continue to evolve. How and what do we do in order to make sure that when we're going, we're taking our own with us? Because it feels like we're going on a runaway train, and a lot of suggestions and recommendations from your lens is included in this book. Do you mind sharing that with us? what do we have to do? I know one of the things is that we need to band together more as Caymanians. We can no longer sit under the great tree, and when you have to stand up in unison, there's only one man standing. Hence, you have the likes of yourself. And I may actually inject myself there. What are some of the cultural norms that people go to as a default of riding? Not so sure, not wanting to make themselves known, be very obvious with their stance. What's your take on that?
Well,
Moving forward.
first of all, we have to realize that there is common cause. There's common cause among us. We have a commonality of heritage, of history, of our culture, of our ancestry. Let me suggest to you what frequently happens at school, happens other places. People tell us that we don't speak English. Oh, you're not speaking English. And they want us to change the way we speak, change our accents, change. That is one of the grossest things that we can attempt to do. I speak about that disparagingly in a poem I have in this book called Mia San Mia. We are who we are, talking about people wanting us to change the way we speak and the way we talk. No, so we have to realize that, and we have to have a pride in certain things because we have a dialect, but we speak a peculiar way. That doesn't mean we are any lesser than anyone else. It doesn't mean that we should, as I say in my poem, we should abandon our goal to please someone. Then what are they going to tell us? Oh, we don't like your head, so you should get rid of it, and then we chop off our heads? No. So that's number one. The second thing is in terms of how we are now, where we are going now. I have always said that we will never be able to have a decent immigration policy unless we first have a manpower needs survey. Manpower needs assessment survey. And then we have to separate labor from immigration, because immigration is one thing and labor is a second thing. Those two things can't go together. They can't. We have commingled them and they're not working, and it will never work, because immigration means who comes in, who comes in. Labor means who is working, and the two should not be commingled. Immigration is immigration and labor is labor. We're talking about manpower. So I would like to see us have a national needs assessment survey when it comes in terms of our how many accountants we need, how many doctors we need, how many engineers, how many technicians we need down the line, and then we develop 5-year development plans. But our development plan is only a physical development plan. They talk about hotels. If we have a proper development plan, which is comprehensive, which is what I talk about in my book, then we have an idea of every kind of development, how much population we're going to need. For example, in terms of immigration, in terms of people coming in, should we favor teachers over doctors, over lawyers, over accountants? Whom do we need most?
A priorities list of occupations.
Right. That is correct. That is correct. And that's how we'll get it right. If we go by a blueprint such as that, you want to come in, but you're not top priority because you're an engineer, but we need teachers.
Correct.
Or you're a teacher, but we need doctors. So you can come in, but you have to. When we get our quota of doctors, this is what we'll do.
It seems, Mr. Roy, not to cut you off, that there's so much things that are going right now. What do you say to those young persons who are coming back from school that feel that there's no hope for them? Not only those that are coming back, but those who have graduated that wants to be able to, or can't afford for tertiary education, let's say. what do you say for those who all of these studies and data and all of this information that needs to be had in order for us to make these national decisions, that they're saying it's just taking too long? What's your say to those persons who don't want to wait? Just go with it.
You know, I'm empathetic to them. I see their plight, and here's the position. Here's something to consider. We send these young people away and say, go and get an education, and you'll be able to get a job. And they go and they get their education, and when they come back, we tell them, sorry, someone else is in your place. So I'm saying that my model is what Lee Kuan Yew did in Singapore. And today, Singapore is the envy of the world, including many countries in the developed world. But Lee Kuan Yew had a system in place. And when he sent the students away to university, he ensured that when they returned, they were first apprenticed and then they were moved into permanent positions. Well, we can't do that easily. And here's how we can't do it easily. Because we are not in control of the means of production. Because all of the investments are foreign owned and they come and dictate the terms. Well, we want this concession or else we'll put our marbles in our bag and take the plane and go somewhere else.
There's always a threat. There's always a threat.
And we believe in that. And so we give them. And so we say, well, you have to hire Caymanians, and then they say, but Caymanians aren't ready. And so we keep giving ground. We keep giving ground until now we have nothing to give. We have all these hundreds of young, educated people, and they're going to cause upset in the society. They're going to cause civil unrest because they're educated. They see what is going on. They desire to be a part of it. And they can't be. They're going to turn the table upside down.
Moving forward, Mr. Roy, what would you like to leave with our audience? I know we have gone completely over, but your conversation went beyond your book, even though everything that was discussed here is actually very topical, aligns with what is on everybody's minds right now, and definitely from minimum wage to immigration reform to being a belonger, selling out. You've pretty much captured all of what is bothering and keeping many of us up at night. You spoke about even homelessness, and we are seeing that around many parts of our island. We're seeing persons who are sleeping in their car. Many of them are our very own, even to the living conditions, multi-generational homes where, you just have your sons and daughters who are marrying and just cannot afford to move on. All of that is actually, or move out on their own, is actually included in your book. So this covers it: immigration, society, and economy in the early 21st century Cayman. Deconstructing development. It's just not bricks and mortar that you're actually referring to in this book.
That's right. So I hope that people read the book. I hope they buy the book and read it. And I hope the book can be the catalyst for a national conversation so that we can assess where we're going. Do we need to alter? Do we need to slow the engine down? Do we need to decelerate a little? We can't stop. Or do we need to decelerate a little? Do we need to change where we have the focus of interest? And place it on something else? How can we better prepare our young people? Okay. Yep.
Our next generation, those that will take us forward long after you and I are gone, needs hope. What would be that nugget right now if you could actually put something out there in the universe, as you've already done in print? But for those who are just probably getting the opportunity now to say, this man is a visionary. He's been prophetic for quite some time. You may be surprised how much of our young people, who are the next persons moving forward to carry us forward in the next generation of people, that they may have felt that they have been disenfranchised from education, property ownership, or even good jobs and being able to even be entrepreneurs. If you have that ability to leave a nugget of hope with them, what would that be this evening?
It would be, it would be to persevere, to not give up, to see if they can make a positive contribution, because it takes all of us to build the society, not to lose hope. Don't be quick to run off to the UK, because there's nothing there. They're running here. Stay and build Caymanian society. And also young people, because I was young too, we cannot always begin at the top. Sometimes we have to climb from the bottom, but we have to remember that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step, and the first step may be the bottom rung of the ladder. Take it, apply yourself enthusiastically and energetically, and think of Cayman, think of the society and not of the individual.
Well said. One final jab at you. Being a child of the soil, former politician, former teacher, and by the way, in one day, I've heard two persons who were aware that you were going to be on a guest on the Sabrina Speaks show, said you were one of the best teachers that they've had. You and I actually witnessed one of them, but that was like the second person in less than an hour that I personally got to hear that from. Have there been, understanding your career as a politician, author, teacher, what have been your biggest regrets? Or if you could do things differently, have you actually, are you inclined to share any of those? Any mistakes along the way? Any things that if you could unwind the hands of time that you would actually do?
Yeah, I made many mistakes. I have made many mistakes, I think one of the things that I would do, I would have applied myself much earlier. I think I wasted too many years. I would have been more effective had I not in my early life been so selfish and spent time chasing my own joys and my own pleasures. If I had only been more willing to submit myself to the good of the community, I would have been more effective. I would have been more effective. And that's one regret that I have. One regret that I have, that I didn't come to the table when I was younger and had more energy. That's one regret. I would have loved to stay at the University College longer than the 9 years I stayed, because that was my life. I loved it. But I was old. I was old, and I wanted to give way to someone younger, which, by the way, is a topic for another show. I think that some politicians would do good to learn that lesson too.
Well said. We have one final caller. Caller, you're live. What's on your mind? And welcome to Sabrina Speaks.
Good afternoon to Mr. Bodden. Congratulations on your book. But when you come in and look, since Papa dead, you don't love us no more. The only time I see is in the supermarket. You need to come up here.
No, I haven't
we want to
forgotten
see
you.
you.
I haven't forgotten you, Shelma. I haven't forgotten you.
I know that, but I figure you want to know who I is, because I didn't have identified another like Angel Hawkins. And I know that not your first book, but congrats. I know you is very smart.
Thank you.
Thank
you kindly. Thank you kindly. Coming from you, that means $1 million, because I know were it not so, you'd have told me to.
If you got me as a friend, I got your back. I know I come and say nothing about, tell them about that's on it and their problem. I never experience. I speak of a person, I find, and when you hear me say something, it's like I tell them, it's like God, how God died for sinners, and we know that happens. I do tell lies on people. I hate a liar.
Great. Thank you kindly.
And that's what my mother always tells people. She know me, and I will curse if I get mad, and I'm loud. But the 50-odd years that I've been with her son, she know me. I'm not a liar, and I'm not a thief.
There we go.
At least that's
something
about me.
Thank you so much, caller. Again, one of our regulars right here, Mr. Roy. That's one thing with the Sabrina Speaks show, and definitely with our CMR family, they will fight for you. They will definitely fight for you. One question that is on the screen from Ms. Codner. I would ask Mr. Bodden what he would ask the government to help the young people.
What I would ask the government to do to help the young people?
Yeah.
That's
Correct.
simple. I would like the government to set up a registry. I would like the government to set up a central registry of all of the college age students or young people with their interests, their skills, and their level of education, and then ensure that that gets to the people in charge of work. WORC. Simple. Just that would make me happy.
Well, definitely. If you want to get to know Mr. Bodden more, you can go ahead and follow him on his Facebook page. And if you definitely want to get your hands on one of these books, go down there to Book Nook in Galleria Plaza. They're on sale, or you can give him a call directly and buy from the author himself. His number is public. That's 926-2180. Who to tell? It's Christmas is coming. You may want to actually buy 2 or 3. I feel this is something that can be given as a gift to your children that will go down in the ages, because you can actually, and you will actually find a lot of the information that is shared here right now, topical. Some discussions are going to be happening in regards to national topics, as we rightfully saying here, minimum wage, immigration reform, being a belonger, putting a stake in the ground to say, this is my land, this is my home, I want to protect it. A lot of that is right here in this book with his recommendations. For $35, give Mr. Roy a call, definitely 926-2180. Follow him on his Facebook page. And definitely, I want to thank you, Mr. Roy, for being and staying pretty much for the entire show with me. And obviously, it was very engaging. Our viewers enjoyed it. For all of the callers who called in to participate, any parting words from you this evening?
I would just like to say that to build a great society, we have to work together. And instead of accentuating our differences, we have to focus on our similarities. And together, we'll do well. I appreciate any support people can get from buying the book, but just don't buy it to say they bought it. Buy it, read it, and engage me. Conversation. If there's something you're not sure about, or there's something you take issue with, do let me know, because that's how I become better and you become better. Thank you for having me on your show, Sabrina. It's been a wonderful experience.
It has been an honor, and I am quite sure you will not be a stranger to this based on the level of our conversation. Once there's a demand, there's a space, and I welcome you back anytime that we can actually educate, because you realize in your former role, a lot of what is going on is just people are just misinformed. And by ways of this medium, I am more than happy to have you back as we educate our masses moving forward for a better Cayman. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, there you have it. I want to thank all of you for your comments, for your participation, but we got to definitely go. I'm going to encourage you to go get yourself a copy of this book. Give them a call, 926-2180. Definitely, I would put the link as well under this show. I want to answer Ms. Rose Ebanks, who was asking for an update as to what was going to happen with the bus wardens. I was listening to some government officials on another show, and what they actually said and confirmed that they acknowledged that this facility was offered the last time, and what sentiments were received were actually that they would actually entertain it again. I am looking for something in writing to confirm, and then I will definitely officially share that. But it's already in the public's domain that they are understanding of the plight that all of your wardens are through, and it is something that they are actually looking at continuing. But however, I want to get something in writing to hold them accountable for that. this has been a very informative, again, show, and I hope that you have been enlightened, you have been informed. It's amazing how much pain, how much growing, how much more growth the Cayman Islands needs if we want to protect our very own existence. And having the minds of the likes of Mr. Bodden, who can see it in its totality, weighing in with some of you who are living it, who are feeling some of the challenges, who are all almost feeling as though they have been alienated, like they no longer belong, they do not longer have a place here, like they're losing hope, that we can have contributors that are calling in, that are actually engaging on this platform to let you know that not all is lost and that there are talented Caymanians, young, old, and in between, but some who have taken their way of healing to put it in book, all that is reality. And I encourage you to go down to the Book Nook, buy yourself one of these copies, and support our very own author, who has been able to do a very informative presentation, engage in many subject matters that is knocking on your very own doors. It has been a pleasure bringing you another edition of Sabrina Speaks, and oh my goodness, how time flies. But until tomorrow, when you join me for another edition of Sabrina Speaks on Wind Down Fridays, have a good evening and God bless.
That's a wrap for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks. Thank you for tuning in and for being part of the conversation. Remember, the dialogue doesn't stop here. Stay engaged, stay informed, and most importantly, stay empowered. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m., same time, same place, right here on CMR TV and radio, where your voice matters and your truth is heard. Until then, Cayman, take care of yourself and each other.
That's it for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks, where your voice matters, your story counts, and your truth is always welcome. Join us weekdays from 5 until 6:30 p.m. right here on CMR TV as we dive into the topics that matter most to you. Catch the show live or on demand at cmrtv.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram so you never miss a moment. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and always speak your truth.